cases alleging fraud. Corporate malfeasance and fraudulent practices are an ongoing problem facing American consumers. We saw this firsthand with the recent Wells Fargo case. In response to the company opening over 2 million fake bank and credit card accounts, thousands of account holders were certified as a class to take this corporate wrongdoer to court. However, if H.R. 985 was the law of the land, this pending class action would have been stymied at the certification phase because the bill does not clearly define exactly how similar the scope and type of injury a class member must suffer. Because each individual Wells Fargo account holder endured varying degrees of financial harm due to this fraud, it is unclear if the victims could be considered a class under these new rules. The Volkswagen fraud case is another example of a class action that would be at risk. Under these new rules, Volkswagen defrauded hundreds of thousands of consumers by selling cars that did not meet EPA emission standards. Volkswagen vehicles had surreptitiously been fitted with illegal defeat software that allowed their cars to pass routine emissions tests while still polluting our clean air with up to 35 times the legal limit of nitrogen oxides. A new MIT study found that the excess emissions generated by these cars between 2008 and 2015 will cause 1,200 premature deaths in Europe and 60 in the United States. This is in addition to the hundreds of thousands of consumers who faced financial loss because they were left to own defective vehicles with greatly reduced resale or trade-in value. As part of the class action settlement in response to this massive fraud, thousands of consumers were able to recoup their losses through a buyback program. As currently drafted, H.R. 985 would have made such a settlement unlikely because of the restrictions on the ability of plaintiffs to certify as a class. Finally, we have the example of the Trump University class action lawsuit. In that case, class certification was granted for the thousands of individuals who were defrauded by the president's nefarious for-profit get-rich-quick scheme. Over 7,000 students were eligible for the class action because they were cheated into thinking they would learn the hard-selling skills to conquer the real estate market. Instead, each student lost thousands of dollars and wasted valuable time in being duped with these fake classes. The president and now defunct Trump University opted for a $25 million settlement to avoid a trial and a finding of wrongdoing. Because of the draconian certification requirements in H.R. 985, it is not a far stretch to assume that Trump University's lawyers would have succeeded in defeating the class action at the certification phase. We cannot allow corporations, whether foreign or domestic, whether controlled by an anonymous board or by President Trump, to defraud consumers without facing repercussions. My amendment looks to protect Americans in such cases and allows them to move forward in the courts as part of a class action. I ask that my amendment be ruled in order so that there may be a thorough and sifting floor debate on this critical issue, and I thank you and yield back.
I want to thank the gentleman for his testimony and his amendment.